You're watching Access Community Television. My name is Elwin Shea, and today I have the great fortune to interview a musical instrument player. Her name is Beverly Dobrinsky. The instrument is the hurdy-gurdy, an instrument that I've seldom see. Perhaps you too also seldom see. It's an instrument that when I think of the hurdy-gurdy, I think of the days of Barkerville and the hurdy-gurdy girls. And I even think of the song Donovan, the hurdy-gurdy man. But before I have a ton of questions about the hurdy-gurdy, but before we get into all those questions of the mechanics of the hurdy-gurdy, I'd like to talk to the hurdy-gurdy player herself. Her name is Beverly Dobrinsky. Welcome, Beverly Dobrinsky, to our show, and tell me something about you and your background and the hurdy-gurdy.
Well, thanks for having me here, Elwin. Well, I have it's been a journey to even find this instrument, right? As you know, I just can't walk over to Long and McQuaid and buy one. But I first saw it played. I mean, I'm a musician. I'm a singer first. That's my primary instrument. I've played different instruments over the years. And I first saw somebody play this instrument live at a festival in Vegreville, Alberta. His name is Brian Cherwick, and his band is called the Kubasonics. And he plays many traditional instruments from Ukraine. And I was just entranced by it. And at that point I decided I wanted to play one. So Brian was the first person I contacted when I wanted to find one, and all I could do was see a picture of it on eBay from a Ukrainian maker. And but I finally did find somebody who lived in Port Townsend, not that far away, who was a maker as well. So that's how I finally got my hands on this particular instrument.
Okay, so just to be clear, you mentioned Vegreville. That's the place with the big Easter egg, no?
That's correct.
So that's a lot of Ukrainians are there?
Very Ukrainian, yeah. And so that's why it's a Ukrainian festival, Ukrainian cultural festival. Yeah.
And you come from Vegreville area?
No, I come from Winnipeg. I grew up in Winnipeg, and I came to Vancouver in the mid-70s and have been here since. But yeah, no, I come out of that Ukrainian community. I'm third-generation Ukrainian Canadian, so my grandparents are the ones who immigrated here.
Right, so were they part of the whole diaspora, where the Ukrainians came to the prairies to work on the farms?
Yeah, they were the first wave, yeah, the pioneers. Yeah.
So were they here during the First World War?
They were here before.
Oh, before that? Okay.
My grandparents on both sides came before the war. Yeah.
Okay, so there's
So that's the first wave. Right. Was late 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. Okay.
Yeah. Lots of history there.
Yeah, there is.
All right. So, what else can you tell me about your background and your music background? What are some of the other instruments that you played before arriving at the hurdy-gurdy?
Well, I said that my voice was my primary instrument, always has been, and since I was very young, I performed. So it was very clear from very young that I was a singer, and I got supported for that in my family and my community, so that was great. So I could just kind of go full speed ahead. But the thing that, I mean, it's interesting to me. So I'm a well-trained singer. I ended up going to university and studying music. Voice was my primary instrument. So I have all that training. But through the course of it, and I'm a folk singer also from way back too. Okay. And I'm a guitar player. And, all that stuff I was doing in the 60s and 70s. And, but I was not singing any music of my own folk.
Okay. I've got a ton of questions on the actual hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah. How
does it work? I noticed that you have a right-hand crank.
Yeah.
What if is there a version that you can crank on the left side?
Sure. It's made by this man.
Let's take a look.
Stefan Puchalski. So, it's made by a luthier. So he could make one for you if you're left-handed. Okay. It's not from a factory, right? I'm
just taking a look at that. You have 4 strings?
There's four strings.
Okay.
2.
And the way it works is that you turn...
It has 2 drone strings. The outer strings are set, and 2 melody strings.
Okay, so I'm just trying to see, when you turn that, it vibrates, it rubs against the strings.
Exactly.
Okay. So I have to confess, I'm not a musician, so what are some common questions that a musician would ask you about in terms of octaves, flats, and
Well, they would
sharps.
like to know how you tune it.
And how do you tune it?
Well, you can tune it in different ways. My preference is to tune these an octave apart,
Okay.
the drones, and the melody string a fifth above. But I also have the option, I have two strings here, and I usually only play one melody with the two drones. You could double it if you like.
Okay.
But I tend to keep this one tuned a fifth above and this one tuned a fourth above. It just allows me a different kind of fingering.
Okay. That kind of went over my head, but those musicians out there will
Yeah.
clearly understand what you just said. So because my background is more mechanical, I'm wondering, because you're always cranking that, do you ever have to spray WD-40 into that? Are there bearings in there?
There is.
Okay.
There is bearings in there. No, I have to be careful about what I put in there.
Okay.
And I can put oil in there, like the kind of oil you use in a sewing machine, like machine oil, that very light, occasionally.
Like sewing, okay.
Yeah, but
Very light
but
stuff.
it is a high maintenance instrument. This is kind
Okay.
of what you're trying to get to.
Yes.
All these two bridges,
Okay.
which elevate the strings. You see that this is one, this is a major bridge, and then there's here. Those are not attached.
Oh.
That's a big thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
if I loosen the strings, everything comes apart. So you have to adjust things all the time.
Okay,
It
it's
depends
finicky.
on the environment, etc. It is very finicky.
So when you're tuning it, do you use one of those tuning tools?
I do. I use my
Okay.
ear. I mean, today, this morning, I was using my ear, but at home, I made sure it was all in tune. And you see, there's all these funny little things. There's cotton on there, and there's paper in there. That's all about getting the right touch of that string to the wheel.
Okay. If I was interested in learning this instrument, I guess there's a bit of a steep learning curve to it.
Well,
I guess like any other instrument, I guess.
yeah, it's an instrument. And it is a little bit. It is high maintenance, so
Okay.
it is a bit difficult
And
at first to get used to that.
viewers are interested in learning to play the hurdy-gurdy,
Yeah. If what?
if they're interested in learning how to play the hurdy-gurdy,
What would
can
they
we go
do?
to you, or is there a website, or do you
Well,
teach
you
it?
could. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that you could find online, but no, you should have direct access to somebody
Okay.
like me or another player. Yeah.
I understand that you have a CD release coming up.
I
Maybe
do.
you can talk to us a bit about that.
I do.
And there's a CD right
my
here.
group is ZEELLIA, and I started ZEELLIA in '91 as a means to express my musical roots. Before, when you were talking about my background,
Right.
I said, I played folk music, but I didn't play my own folk music. And so there was a whole journey for me to reclaim that. And '91 was the centenary of Ukrainians to Canada, so it coincided with that. It was also the end of the breakdown of the Soviet Union, so also the rebirth of Ukraine. So it all kind of made sense. And so this is ZEELLIA's third album, and it's the first album that I play hurdy-gurdy on it.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
for those of you who are ZEELLIA fans, or for those of you who will be ZEELLIA fans, you'll get to hear hurdy-gurdy. In Ukrainian, we call it a lira,
Lira,
and so I am a lirnik.
lirnik.
A lirnik,
Because you're a woman,
who
or
plays.
because
No, that just means someone who plays the
instrument?
lira.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me who else is in your group. I know we have you here, but behind you
Yeah.
there are other musicians.
Yes, there's 6 of us. Allison Jenkins plays accordion, Russell Schulberg plays bass, Elliot Vaughn plays violin, and I have 2 other singers, Tatiana Zaruba and Carmen Rosine.
Okay. Tell me, when is the CD release, and where is it taking place?
The CD release will be April 2nd. It'll be 8 in the evening. We also have guest artists to open the show, Vostok, who is a cappella trio that also sing Eastern European music, traditional music. And it will be at the Ukrainian Hall on April 2nd.
And do you have a website?
Yes, it's me, www.beverlydobrinsky.com, and we are working on launching a new website for ZEELLIA, www.zeellia.com, which will be ready, I hope, by April 2nd. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in today. That's our time, and perhaps you can play us out on hurdy-gurdy. Is there a song that you're going to
Yeah,
play?
I think
Should we play a
I'll
song?
exit on a very old song from the tradition of this instrument
Okay, great.
that survived.
All right. Again, thank you.
pluci, bidu te pluci, jak sosna písku, pak srdce